Hello everybody, it is me Gideon. Welcome to my studio, and we are jumping right in with week 5. Our creative prompt for this week is the color blue, and we are going to be inspired by circle shapes. Now I've already gone ahead and drawn some circles here, and I used a compass with one of my colors to create these shapes. But if you do not have access to a compass, you can always use a plastic lid or a plate or a cup or some round utensil in your home that you can use to trace with, and then you have a nice circle shape to play with. So as we go into this week, I wanted to just share with you guys a little bit information about the blue color and what it could symbolize. And the color blue, according to Google, it represents both the sky and the sea, and it is associated with open spaces, freedom, intuition, imagination, inspiration, and sensitivity. Blue also represents meanings of depth, trust, loyalty, sincerity, wisdom, confidence, stability, faith, and intelligence. So that is absolutely a wonderful color to work with. It is also definitely one of my favorites, and I enjoy working with the color blue. So I want you guys just to say hi to me, drop a comment, tell me where you're watching this video from, and how do you feel about the color blue? Is it your favorite? Is it not? Do you hate the color blue? But also try to tell me why. Try and go a little bit deeper, and why you don't like the color, or why you do like this particular color. I really feel that it connects us with our throat chakra, and the color blue helps us to speak our truth and to communicate more clearly. So I think it is why I love the color blue so much, is sometimes I can feel stuck with my throat and with my voice. It's like I stutter and I fall over my words. So then I know it is time to just look at that self-confidence, and the color blue helps me to communicate a little bit more clearly and with confidence. So I got out all my art supplies in the blue range so that we can play in our art journal today. So without further ado, I think I'm going to continue this theme of light and dark using 2 pages in my journal. And I think a great way to start is to maybe just do a background on one and do the negative space around one and the positive space in another. So I'm going to draw on this ultramarine blue here, and let me just see where I'm going to dispense some of it on this wax paper just as a palette. I hope you guys can hear me clearly, and I'm going to just squeeze some of this out. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of acrylic medium just to improve the fluidity of this paint. And I'm using a matte acrylic medium here that I did from the art supply store, and this helps me to loosen up some of my color, and it also helps me to create a glaze, thin it out, improve the fluidity. I can control whether it's matte or whether it's gloss, and I really like working with this medium because I also use it as a glue. Right, so there's quite a bit of paint here. I've put my little wax pages in here to protect my other pages, and I'm just going to come in and work some of this paint off because I really don't want to have too thick of a layer. So are you guys enjoying the creative prompts? Are you inspired in your creative practice to try some of these ideas? If you are, thank you so much. Please tell me more about your creative practice and how I possibly inspired or helped you in any way. I know there's a lot of my painting in the park patrons and supporters that follow me here on YouTube, and I know that you guys told me because we had a painting in the park workshop event yesterday at the Botanical Gardens in Pretoria, and it is always so much fun to meet new friends that is inspired by um, being creative and painting and trying out something new. And it really was a profound experience yesterday that we played with the symbol of the peacock and finding out how the peacock symbolism can help us to grow as individuals. And funny enough, the peacock also touches on, verbal communication, being confident in letting the world know what it is that you need. A peacock is never shy to scream out to the world and to get the attention that it feels it deserves. So it really was a nice confidence building exercise yesterday, and I found that a lot of participants found their voice and was able to just learn to love themselves a little bit more and enjoy the process of creating art and loving your art regardless of what it looks like in the end. Because I think as Westerners, we can become so fixated on end product. It must be worthy to hang on a wall, or it must have monetary value in order for it to, sort of mean something. And I, as a creative coach, like to challenge that and say, no, there's obvious, value in creating art. I mean, as an artist myself, I am dependent on, selling my art and my classes as a source of income. But I'm referring to really loving your art and loving the process, and especially for those beginners and those individuals that love to tell me how they are not creative and that they were skipped in their creation process with that gene. Their sister or brother or mother or family member, aunt or grandma got the creative gene, you didn't. I like to talk to you guys because I believe that creativity is inherent part of our creation makeup. It's part of who we are, and we use creativity every day to solve problems. Mathematical problem, a life problem, a challenging situation. It all requires us to delve deep into our creative thinking, which is linked with our right brain, and we find a creative solution or a way out. And I like to remind people that that is really where our creative juice lies. And unfortunately, as young teenagers, when we get to puberty, we get shy, we start to compare ourselves with our peers. And of course, there's always somebody that has a little bit more of a developed creative intelligence, what we like to refer to as talent, natural talent, or a gifted person in this regard. It is clearly part of their life purpose, and they just understand, color and technique and drawing and expressing themselves in this creative medium sooner, faster, better, whatever the case may be. And I find that the average person then, through comparison, shy away and step away and say, okay, well, it's not meant for me. It is clearly meant for true artists. But I like to just remind people that, creativity's got nothing to do with technique. Technique is something that can be learned and practiced until you are happy with it. And again, I'm not asking you to become an artist, a professional artist. I'm asking you to delve into your creative intelligence, learn to communicate more in a clear fashion with your higher self. Learn to trust your intuition, your gut feeling, that inner guidance that tells you this is the correct step to take in the situation, this is the solution to your problem. That is how we use our creativity to become more resilient in our daily lives. So I encourage even those scientists and perfectionists and accountants and lawyers and people that work with detail and that rely on perfectionism and excellence to do their job. I know how frustrating it can be to switch off, from your job and from the computer and from working with figures and numbers and rely on all of these things that, expect excellence and perfectionism and as little as possible errors from you. So if that is you and you are working in an environment or you even grew up in an environment where you were not allowed to make mistakes and to just, express yourself freely, I want to encourage you to take up a creative practice in order to, overcome that, because I really think it can be so restrictive when we are constantly working under such pressure with eyes watching over you the whole time. When are you gonna, make a mistake? When are you gonna fall down? And that's a lot of stress that I really think is unnecessary to live in every day. So having a creative practice helps you to just relax. It helps you to come into the present moment and become mindful. It's another way of meditation. It's another way to close all those apps that are constantly open in our brains, that's constantly judging whether we are performing, whether we are loved, accepted, and respected. And I really think it's a good thing to sometimes just let go of all of those, concerns and worries and performance appraisals and actions that we have to take every day in order to stay ahead of the herd. It's raining here in South Africa today, here in Pretoria. Sorry, South Africa is rather big, so here in the city where I live, in Pretoria, it is raining today, so hopefully you can hear the rain on the outside. So it's nice and quiet and peaceful, and I'm just enjoying the challenge that these little circles is bringing to me. But this is part of the fun of having your creative practice, is to get into these little zones where you obviously step into your right brain. And I say that you're in your right brain when it becomes quiet. And there's not a lot of thinking and criticism happening in your mind. And I think that critical nanny, for a lot of us, really rules our lives. We hear that critical voice in our mind constantly, and until you become aware of it and you take control of that critical mind, that voice that tells you you're not good enough, this is a mess, this is not successful, and just tell it, you know what, you can just relax a little bit. I am not solving world hunger right now. I am just painting. I'm playing with paint in my art journal, and I've given myself permission to do that once a week or every day for 10 minutes or whatever the case may be. However you are able to fit this practice into your schedule. And I really do believe that you need to make the time in order to have a creative practice. I've encountered a lot of people that have a limiting belief that there's no time There's not enough time for this, there's not enough time for that. And for me, that is just a crux. It's not really the truth, because when I look at these people and observe their behavior, it's very interesting for me how they can find time for all kinds of other things that is really not serving them, that is not supporting them, and that is truly a waste of time. And what is the word? They value that over what they know their soul needs and is asking for. Because these individuals clearly always tell me, oh, I love your art. I wish I had time to do this because I'm so busy. My schedule doesn't really allow me to this. But you know what? I really think that's just a cop out. I think it's a way that you can excuse yourself from getting into it and being disappointed with what you create. And ultimately, that's the part that you don't want to face. Ultimately, that's sort of the fear that is behind the limiting belief. Because maybe somewhere in your life, in your creative journey, somebody told you that you are wasting time, that you are lazy, that you're not good enough, you're not supposed to be drawing pictures because you're not an artist and you'll never be an artist, it doesn't pay the bills. And all of these sort of voices, opinions and ideas support that fear, that limiting belief that is holding you back. And it really doesn't help that you sit on the sideline and wish for the day that you retire, that you can sit and waste your time playing in your art journal. But you know what? I find those people will only really get into it the day when you recognize that the only person that's holding you back is you. There's no one else holding you back. And I don't care how talented you believe you are. It's really not what it's about. It is about the therapeutic benefits that having a creative practice can offer you. And I sometimes deliberately make mistakes in my art practice so that I can practice, accepting myself and loving myself with my mistakes and with my errors and with my imperfections. So that is my challenge to you as well, especially working with circles, because circles in naturally is such perfect shapes, especially perfect circles. There's this perfection about it that's so beautiful. And when we do something that looks imperfect, it sort of distorts that circle shape. Then all of a sudden, we confront it with that imperfection, and it can be disturbing to some. And my challenge to you is, you know what? Just relax. This is your art journal. It's for you, and it's meant for you to enjoy. And this is an opportunity for you to practice self-love, self-acceptance, kindness, tolerance, patience with yourself. Because if you can never practice it in a non-threatening way on yourself, how are you ever going to apply that to other people? The Karens of life, the difficult people that's never pleased, that's never happy with anything you do. And we tend to take these things personally way too quickly. And in the end, really, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It is about that person. But if you haven't practiced it on yourself, acceptance, patience, kindness, tolerance, trying to understand and be mindful, then you don't have that resilience always to fall back on when you are in a situation where you're confronted with another person's displeasure with themselves that is projected on you. So having a creative practice, you can see, really has a lot of potential to practice these kind of things that empower you and make you stronger as an individual, more grounded. You learn to respond rather than to react. All of these things takes time and practice. It doesn't just happen overnight. And the more stressed that you are, the more challenging the situation is, the more likely it is that at times you will just fall back on what I like to call a habit, a behavior habit, where you will just exhibit, a behavior or a reaction out of defense because your feelings are hurt, or you're stressed, or you're overwhelmed. And really, a creative practice for me is a place where you can practice that breath, acceptance, and patience and kindness with yourself. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Right, so as we allow this layer to dry, I'm going to switch to another medium that gives me the freedom to just quickly move about. And I'm thinking, let's use this lighter color. Wait, let's play a little bit with our pencils. I haven't really brought out my pencils. This is just an aquarelle pencil that is also water soluble or can be activated with water. So let's go in and let's do some fun doodles. And I'm just using the circle as my inspiration, and almost using this little space as a mandala. And a mandala is a design in a circular shape. You see this in the Gregorian church building windows. You can see it in, crocheting, all kinds of various art forms, painting on rocks, that kind of thing, really uses this principle very well. And again, like I said, I'm practicing self-love, self-acceptance, so this is really a raw and free little mandala. It's not about perfectionism. I'm trying to practice not being perfect and giving myself permission to just draw something that is organic and more free-flowing, like inside a cell of your body. It's round, but there's some organicness to it that allows for some bendability and flexibility and so forth. Let's try this with a darker pencil. And it just broke on me. So clearly we're not going to use this dark one right now. Let's switch to this oil pastel. And I wanted to just make a little circle and then play with some line work that will accentuate this shape. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm really trying to project and think and play and have fun and share some valuable content with you guys at the same time. So do turn up your volume a little bit so that you can hear clearly. Let's switch to another color. Variety is the spice of life. Let's go for a more solid line. These are just my oil pastels. It's just one of those favorite go-tos because the color is so intense and vibrant, and I love the texture that it allows me to play with. Right, that's almost dry. What other medium have I got here that we can play with? Let's use a little bit of this lighter color. I'm going to sort of use it straight out of the tube because I would like to do some dots. So I'm going to go around and make some dots. I'm going to switch over to the inside here, and then it helps me to complete this circle, albeit on the inside. That's fun. Let's add some more. I like to go a little bit off the page. I think it adds to the design. I apologize for the noises in the background. I'm living right next to a container yard, and some days it's just very busy. These big machines that's carrying the containers are close to the house, and then you can hear the machinery. That's a lot of fun. I'm just gonna tap some of these little circles with my brush. I'm gonna just activate it with some water. I just want to flatten down some of these little peaks. There we go. So they're not such volcanoes of color. Otherwise, when they dry, these peaks will continue to stand out, and then it will make my little art journal very thick. But I do like the impasto vibe that is going here. I think I want to show you guys something else that you can do. I'm going to just use one of my wax papers, and I'm going to put it on here, and I'm very gently going to squeeze down. Of course, that's another way to make a print or imprint wet paint that you've got going there. And you can transfer it and just, you know, widen the space because you are pressing down on it. And that will give you a bit of texture as well. So gently does it. So I'm just going to go around with each dot. There we go. And then when you lift this up, you have another print of that on the other side. I'm going to swing this around like this. And you can print that on another piece of paper or on your canvas. Ta-da! So you can see why these little sheets are so important, that you protect your page with, so that when you take this out, your other page is nice and clean, or fairly clean. Here we go. So you get the gist of this week's prompt. Get out your blue art supplies, all of it, and discover what you have in your drawers, and play with circles and circle shapes in your art journal. And then do take a photograph and share it with us on our Facebook group, The Creative Heart. It is really such a lovely community where we support each other in our creative practice and we share our art with each other. So do join us there. I'm going to continue to play on this little art journal of mine. I'm going to allow this layer to dry, and when I come back I'm going to add a bit more detail and contrast to this page, and I will share that with you guys as well. So I'll speak to you guys again soon.